Folks, greetings, and I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to this brief conversation. And today we will be looking at something that I've looked at it before, but in different ways. And so today I would like to focus on one of the real thing that is causing fever in Africa. And this thing that I'm going to reveal to you, I'm sure if some of you are politically sharp, completely aware on what exactly is happening. So I'm going to give it a global perspective, then I'm gonna zero it down to Africa, then I'll conclude by zeroing it down to Kenya and the current situation. And so I want to begin by asking ourselves, what is leadership? And there are many people that have interrogated with this particular term, and many definitions have come up and are very amazing and very good definitions, and there are quite a number of them. But then I just want us to look at, for example, what one of the person here says, and this is Gary Willie says, leadership is mobilizing others towards a goal shared by the leader and followers. Yeah, mobilizing others towards a goal shared by leader and followers. And so that is very critical, and I think that makes more sense, and we appreciate that kind of definition of leadership. Then on that note, I would also want to ask ourselves, what is influence? And so influence, if you look at Oswald Sanders, he basically put it in simple terms, where he says that leadership is influence. Then if he says leadership is influence, and so what is influence? Just turning to something here, see if I can get it. Here it says, and this is one of the definition of influence. Influence is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something, but without using apparent exertion or force or direct exercise of command. What is important here is the capacity to have an effect on the character, development, or behavior of someone or something. In other words, the ability to cause about change or any other thing is on things such as character, as that definition has brought it out clearly. And so if Oswald says leadership is all about influence, and we have Millers who says that leadership is mobilizing towards a particular goal, that is mobilizing followers towards a particular goal, then leadership is very crucial, and it is something that we need to interrogate on daily basis, because it is here with us. And so without knowing, we will find ourselves influencing our sphere and influencing the areas that God has placed us into. And what is also important to note is that the kind of the influence we are talking about that is initiated or carried out by these leaders is that kind of an influence that is conducted in the absentia of coercion, so that it is using the skills, the styles, the talents that you have and possess to ensure that indeed the kind of the leadership you're offering it is influencing on the followers on the situations and in this matter in a positive way. And so, back to our conversation, if leadership is all about influence, why do we have, um, or if I put it this way, why is it important that a section of the world or countries will always want to ensure that they are felt globally? The West will want to continue feeling that they are in control, they are in power, and the others that also would also want to be felt. And so this is a global issue where all the big players globally want to be felt, and they want to ensure that their policies they are going through and their interest is being met. And so this is all about the kind of the leadership they want to offer, and in that process they want to ensure that indeed they are influencing others. Now, over time, we've had the West really, and in this case, USA as the superpower, and this has been there for quite a while, and they've been carrying the shots, but over time we've had challenges coming from other countries, and they are emerging very strong, and they are posing a serious competition to the current superpower. Now, recently, not long ago, about a decade, there is a political organization and a political and for political economy by the name BRICS, or began by BRIC, then BRICS, that was formed. And this kind of organization was formed in a way of ensuring that they are there also to influence in terms of politics. And so BRICS stand for Brazil, and we have Russia, India, and China, and later on South Africa from Africa was incorporated recently. And so these three countries came together to create a framework that they would use and in terms of upgrading and uplifting their members, and this entirely or basically was done as a counter attack on what really has always been the conventional framework from the West. And when you look at at the motive behind the BRICS, of course, they have indicated that one of the things they want to do is to try and find a framework on things such as coming up with a single currency that will operate within the member groups. And number two, they would also want to come up with a financial institution that are going to serve as a platform that is going to upgrade their member group, and this is similar to things such as IMF, the World Bank, and all these institutions, they are dominated, and they were formulated and institutioned, or rather begun by the West. And so they feel best way we can be of influence and make a difference in the world is to begin our own. So that's why the BRICS are beginning their own. That's why they have come up also with a contingent fund, and that's why we also have, for example, they have begun their own bank. And this bank, I think it is situated in China, because China and Russia is one of the major players on this new organization called BRICS. And so this is really posing a serious challenge to the conventional powers. And when you look at, for example, there are quite a number of things that favors them. One, look at the demographics. How many people comprises of India and China, and if you put Russia now, South Africa, it's quite a number. You're talking of over 3 billion people, and that supersedes the West by far. Now, let us look at the GDP of these countries. The GDP of these countries is something to really pose a serious threat to the conventional powers. And so you also other things. Of course, there are also challenges that poses on the development of BRICS. For example, there are internal issues. A good example is between China and India. This has been there for a while, and so this may maybe slow the growth and the influence. And or maybe others may want to term them as those initial challenges that are there during any for the formation of any group. And so we'll see what happens. But having said that, BRICS is really having the intention to really take over the world. There are many other people that are interested in joining. For example, Turkey. They have suggested and already asked them to be incorporated. There are other many Arabic countries from the Gulf that want also to be part of it. And so all this is throwing serious fever, if you ask me, in my own view, to the world, and especially those that are inclined to the West and to the framework in terms of economically and politically to the West. And so globally, that is a serious challenge, because there seems to be a number of paradigm shifts, and this really will affect quite a number of things in terms of globally. Now, in terms of Africa, this is very serious because one, I said that there is a way of a new scramble for Africa. Everybody is again scrambling for Africa. And so we've had China really, who lately, for the last 1 decade, they have really made serious inroads in Africa. And it appears most of the countries now want to incline towards them. Of course, there are other serious issues where that is concerned. That is for another day. And looking at South Africa, who are members already of the BRICS, of course, South Africa is one of the emerging countries economically, and also a serious one on the continent of Africa. But they are also eyeing other serious African countries who has serious demographics, and also whose economy is really potential and coming up seriously. Countries such as Egypt, Nigeria, Tunisia, and others. And so BRICS is very interested in accommodating these members on board, and by so doing that, BRICS intends to have serious influence on African continent. One, by really partnering with them in terms of economic growth, give them serious loans, maybe on a very cheap interest and terms as compared to what comes from the West. Because usually we've had this happening and coming from the West, but with again with a lot of limitations, and a lot of things that comes alongside. And so I think most countries are really falling for that, and they really want to take that direction. But it is not as easy as it is, because the other conventional big brothers are not just sitting there comfortable to see that happening. So they are really putting their best foot forward as well. Now, looking at it in terms of Kenya, currently we've had serious political, and they are still there, political turmoils, and it is purported, and the opposition in Kenya have claimed that the current administration, the current government, has been put there primarily by the West. And so they felt by having that kind of leadership, then they will be able to have their inroads, and they will be able to influence the country, and for their own reasons, in terms of doing business, and getting the best interest out of it. And also, and good example, for example, when the new government took over, the other government, which was led by President Uhuru, they had come up with subsidies. And to these subsidies were basically introduced so as to ease the harsh economic, where things were very expensive and most citizens could not afford. So it was introduced at least to reduce the price of essential commodities. When the new current government took over, they rubbed off those subsidies, and that was done out of the influence, or with the influence of these serious monetary institutions such as World Bank and IMF, because they would want to do business, and they have their own terms and conditions. And so this has created a very serious economy between the government and the opposition, and that's what people on the streets are demonstrating. And so BRICS are coming in, and it appears that they want to bring most of these people on board. And with China that has been there, and with Russia, in terms, most of the contracts have always gone to them, and this has left the West and a bit scared, and the fever is real. The fever is real, and so they are fighting for their survival. They are fighting to stamp their foot. And this is the reason why I think, in my own view, and this is one of the reasons that is causing serious challenges, especially where leadership is concerned in Africa, because it appears some of the countries, these conventional powers, will want to impose their own leaders indirectly. And so by so doing that, so that the leaders that has been imposed will cooperate with them, and work with them. So any other person that appears to be inclining towards this new child on the blog, the BRICS, that kind of leadership will not be appreciated by the conventional and by the current superpowers. And so that is really causing a lot of problems, even in the context of Kenya. And that's why BRICS is causing very serious challenges, not just to the globe or to Africa, but also to Kenya, as a single country, as it is that way. So let's see what happened. Let's keep watching. But if you ask me, as I finish, I would say that BRICS is one of the reasons why serious political paradigm shift, for serious policies and even leadership is really taking a different shape, not just in the globe, not just in Africa, but also in Kenya. And that's why if you are following the proceedings in Kenya, look at some of the high commission and their representatives in the country, look at their kind of the statements they issue, and look and study their behavior and their relationship with the government and the opposition. Then you will draw a conclusion, and you may most likely agree with what I'm telling you. Having said that, let's watch the space. Let's see what happens. But people must take BRICS serious, because it appears to be very strategic and very intentional